Me and my special guest tonight. Before we start the live, please just take a listen. If I had told you at the beginning of this year that we would have been facing a pandemic by the name of COVID-19 that was going to turn this world upside down, you would have never believed it. The COVID Conquerors series on the Aisha Muhammad podcast. In this climate of fear, confusion, and suppression, I saw the need to create the COVID Conquerors podcast series. COVID Conquerors features phenomenal people who are, despite their challenges, thriving personally or in service to their community. COVID Conquerors airs live on Facebook and YouTube every other Thursday at 9 p.m. GMT, that's UK time, on the Aisha Muhammad podcast. This podcast aims to encourage, inspire, and empower you, to reassure you that in this time of uncertainty, should you look, you will see that there are great opportunities for you to thrive in aspects of your life, regardless to whom or what. It's time to start the live podcast where you'll meet this week's phenomenal guest. Let the countdown begin. Welcome to the Aisha Muhammad podcast. Thank you so much for making the decision to come and join us to share space and time for 1 hour with myself and my phenomenal guest that I have here with me this evening. Before we start, I always like to ask you to kindly share this broadcast. Share it with everyone that you know it will help. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Aisha Muhammad and I'm a self-love coach and I'm based in the United Kingdom. I decided to create this podcast series, COVID Conquerors, due to the fact that we are facing a pandemic. Many people are going through some hard times. Many people are in despair. Most of us are in need of some kind of inspiration, a kind reminder, some kind of upliftment, so that we can remember that there is indeed hope and that each of us have to shine our light. Each of us have to teach one and raise each other up, raise the vibration, so that we can really just center ourselves and be in a stronger position to navigate during this time. I really do love triumph over adversity stories. I love the thing that is in the human spirit that makes us rise up against adversity. And furthermore, when it comes to love, to have it in our heart and mind to help others, even whilst we're going through our challenges. That indeed is a true display of love. And that brings me to introduce the phenomenal man that I have here today. Let me tell you a little bit about Brother Marcus Muhammad, who is a motivational speaker. He is also an author as well as an inspiration. I met Brother Marcus and his wife for the first time in Jamaica 2014, and we were hanging out in the foyer area in the hotel, and we went for what was it? Was it a Saviour's Day? Remind me, Brother Marcus. It was a holy day of atonement. That's what it was in Jamaica in 2014. We went to hear the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan speak in Kingston, Jamaica. And I came across this beautiful couple, which was Brother Marcus and his wife, Shakira. They're so humble. And we was just chilling out and just talking. And I had my first son at the time, and we must have been over an hour, you know, just conversating and spending time. And I never knew that, you know, years on, we would be here on the Aisha Muhammad podcast, and that you would be telling your story, you know, inspiring and motivating and comforting persons who are suffering from the HIV virus, because you yourself, Brother Marcus, you were born with HIV. And it can still be somewhat of a taboo subject in our community, but we want to bust it wide open tonight on the Aisha Muhammad podcast on COVID Conquerors. I just want to start, Brother Marcus, by just letting you know how proud I am of you, you know, in wanting to share your story, in wanting to uplift others as you go on your journey of healing. Brother Marcus is also, you know, as I said, he's a husband and he has two beautiful children. And we'll go into that a little bit as we go along in the interview. So please share the broadcast and let's start. Brother Marcus, welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you feeling?
Wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very, very, very high. Okay, high vibes tonight because I'm just so happy to have you here. You have your new book and it's called Transforming Pain to Purpose. And I just want to ask you about that. I want our listeners and our viewers to know more about this book. What led you? What was the decision that made you decide on writing this book?
Okay, thank you for your question. Before I even answer that question, first off, just want to thank you for opening up your platform, opening up your time out of your schedule, and for seeing value in my story and me and what I'm striving to do, and allowing me to speak on your platform. So I'm definitely honored, and it's so amazing how God works. You know that, like you said, we met 7 years ago, and no one, we would have never thought that we would be connected like this, to the point where I'll be, you know, you'll be on your podcast and I'm sitting on your podcast and I'm sharing my story. But that's just how the God works. So definitely grateful to be here. Definitely grateful to share my story. So to answer your question, what led me to wanting to write my book? What led me to the decision to, you know what, I want to write a book? Well, for ever since I was a child, most by the age of 6 years old, I always had a strong desire, and I was always passionate about helping people. And one of the ways I always saw myself helping people was somehow sharing my story. Like I always used to envision myself speaking in front of a crowd, or speaking at the mosque, or speaking in, you know, at big events, and telling individuals about my childhood experiences, my teenage experiences, growing up with this disease, and enlightening other individuals about HIV, about AIDS, and overcoming it. Like you said, having triumph over the adversity, but also in a sense of motivation, inspiration, that no matter the hand you've been dealt, you can still live a prosperous lifestyle. So as a child, always growing up, I always saw myself, you know, choosing a career as a physician or a scientist, and like, you know, working in a lab somewhere or helping people in that sense. And the reason why is because I truly wanted to be one that could be a vessel in God's kingdom to help heal our people. And so, and that's what I'm doing today. I'm healing and striving to be, I guess you would say, a spiritual physician, with the teachings that we've been given by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Mentalist Farrakhan, which the whole scope of the teachings we have been given, we're taught, is healing. You know, everything is healing in our teachings: upliftment, motivation, inspiration, self-knowledge, God, love of self, love each other, treat others as you want to be treated.
Yes.
So growing up, I always had that desire to share my story. However, I didn't know how I was going to do it, you know. And so as I continued on for the last few years or so, you know, with the entrepreneur kind of mindset I had, I started thinking about writing a book. And so I actually have a journal that I've been writing in for like the past 4 or 5 years. And I just been jotting down all the successes, all the blessings that I've had and that I've experienced. I've also written down all the bad days, all the trials, all the times where I was off of medicine. I said, you know what, my results are going to be very good this time. You know, my numbers are going to be excellent. And then I go get my blood drawn. It's like, oh my God, this wasn't what I was expecting, you know. And then I got to overcome the emotion that I had, you know. And so ever since I've been writing in my journal, it's been in my mind to want to publish a book, so that way individuals can have one, some kind of reference to go by that, not only will inspire individuals, but enlighten them and educate them on the reality of HIV, the truth of it, but also inspire them and let them know that regardless of whatever you're going through, whatever you have been through or had overcame, you can still live a successful lifestyle because God is the best knower and nothing encompasses his will. Like his will, I mean, there's nothing that occurs that he doesn't know. You know what I mean? There's nothing that gets by him that there's nothing that get past his will. And if we understand that, then we can, lean on him or overcome. So that was why I chose to write my story. And in the last few months or so, I'll probably say the last few years, but more so the last year, God has just been working on me. And like I've been talking to my wife. I've had several conversations where it's just like, babe, I feel like I'm not doing, what I'm truly desiring to do. You know what I mean? Like the things that I desire, it's like I really want to be out front, really striving to be God's vessel by sharing my story and by helping individuals, heal. And I said, I think it's time to really just kind of step out there in faith. And I was just thinking about all these ideas. So I thought about writing a book, and it wasn't recently until I joined this company. Pardon me, not a company, but an institution called the ABS Tribe. And they're like, teaching individuals how to use social media and, Facebook, Instagram, and different vehicles of social media to not only help people, but increase the success of your business and get your voice across. So I know my business is helping, uplifting people, which is the teachings. But at the same time, what can I do that will allow me to still do what I'm doing, but I can still profit from it as well? And that's when I thought about, okay, now it's time I can drop a book. Because this book that I wrote isn't even my full story. It's a lot in that story, in that book that I wrote. But it's I probably put 25% of what I really experienced in that book. So that was why I wrote the book.
Wow, thank you for that. I mean, I managed to grab a copy today for the first time, and I liked the way it led in. It was like you on an interview, and we were hearing the interviewer's questions, and we was hearing you lay out the answers that really laid a foundation and a backdrop of what you had been through and how things was for you. And I thought that was really smart. It was a smart way of, introducing yourself and, everything that you've been going through from a child to where you are today. I think it's about 70 odd pages, but it has so much. When you just read a page, I was just left like really having to think about what I had read and almost try and put myself in your shoes, if you understand, because I found it very easy to connect with you, as the writer, in how you put across your story. So I would encourage everyone to go on Amazon. The information's on the screen, and get a copy of the book by Brother Marcus Muhammad on transforming pain to purpose. It's a really good read, and I look forward to reading the rest of it. And very well done to you for writing a book. Many people wish to do so, but to take a long time to get it off the ground. I'll call no names, but it's a very wonderful achievement. So I'm just asking for everybody to support Brother Marcus and his book. It's so inspirational, and whether it's HIV or cancer or any kind of situation you find yourself in that is really trying, I think you'll be able to find and pick something out of that book that's going to help you to overcome. So I just wanted to touch on the fact, Brother Marcus, that the topic of HIV is really still quite a taboo subject in the Black community. So I just wanted to know, what's your story? Have you been affected by the fact that it's taboo? How have you dealt with it?
Well, I would say, God and my mother prepared me, in a way that I was raised, because she told me at I was real young when she told me, when she first told me that I was basically different and that there was something different about my immune system and my blood. I was 6 years old. When I heard the term HIV the first time, I probably was about 8 or 9 or so, a little older. I was, it was a little different in the sense because most of my siblings knew, but not all of my family members knew about it. And so to a certain extent, I had to be very quiet about it. You know, I had to be very secretive because of the taboo. So because of that, it made me have some kind of armor up or shield up around myself, because I knew that it wasn't something that I really should talk about openly because of the misunderstanding and the miseducation of understanding HIV and AIDS. Because back then, and even up until this day, typically individuals confuse the two. You know, when they hear HIV, they think that HIV and AIDS are the same thing, when in fact they're not. You know, and so growing up, I had to, you know, one, understand that it was different, and two, understand how other people think and how they will view it, and, you know, just make sure that I didn't share it with them. So today is like, it really doesn't affect me like that, because, you know, well, of course everyone typically knows, because I share it on my social media platforms. I mean, it's not like I go to the store and say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm HIV positive." You know what I mean? But if the conversations comes up and I talk about things that I have overcame, or stuff that I'm going through right now, how God has blessed me, you know, or maybe I'm talking about the teachings and how the teaching saved me, I'll use this as a story. Well, you know, I was born with this. The doctor said I won't live, but I overcame it, and I'm living today because of the teachings of the Most High Muhammad, or because the way I'm eating is helping me maintain my body. But there's definitely a taboo, because there are right now, statistically, if you know, you can Google this, there are approximately 35 to 40 million people across the world living with AIDS, or not AIDS, pardon me, living with HIV. Excuse me. However, those are those people that know. So basically, they're in the system. They're tagged for having HIV or AIDS. However, there's probably another few million that probably have it as well, but they don't know because they're not getting checked out, you know? So, you know, I dealt with the taboo a little bit more so because I had to make sure I wasn't really going around sharing it like that because of the misunderstanding other people have. And then also, like, when I would share, like when I shared this with my wife, who at the time was my courtmate, I had to make sure that I explained it to her, so that way if there was a misunderstanding, it wouldn't prevent us from, you know, becoming married.
Wow. Wow, and wow. I mean, you just shows your strength of character, brother Marcus. It really, really does. And you know, in coming out and talking about it and educating people about HIV, you know, more people doing that is the only way that it's going to be a subject that people feel comfortable in, you know, speaking about and sharing with others. You know, after all, what we have to really look at is the root of this thing, and it's a biological weapon. You know, regardless of how it's transferred, it is a biological weapon. And you know, unfortunately, we get caught up in it. You know, you were born with it. Some people, it's sexually transmitted, you know, but it's here, and we're having to deal with it, and we're having to live with it. And it's not something that anyone should feel ashamed about. You know, it's something that we really need to educate ourselves on, and just be supportive and show love to those whom are living, you know, with the HIV virus. So what I wanted to talk about as well is the fact that there's many misconceptions about the HIV virus and AIDS. A lot of people throw the term AIDS around very loosely, when in fact what they're really referring to is the HIV virus. I just wanted you to just break down some of the misconceptions. And I also just want to say to those of you commenting, this week you're not seeing your comments on the screen. I don't know what's wrong with StreamYard, but they're not appearing. But please continue the conversation in the comments. I see you and I appreciate you. Much love to you. Please also remember to share the broadcast. So, brother Marcus, what are some of the misconceptions, and can you clear them up for me in regards to HIV and AIDS?
Thank you for that. Well, first, I wanted to touch on a little what you said earlier, you know, about one having HIV and the taboo of it and the misunderstanding of it. Is that for those individuals that, one, either have HIV or AIDS, or two, may know a friend or family member or someone that, you know, is positive, then, you know, you have to understand that just because you have that disease or because they have that disease doesn't mean that I'm sorry, someone just messaged me saying that the podcast is saying unavailable and people can't get in. So I just wanted to but
Okay.
it's just let you know that while we were going through it. I don't know if you have your page private or not, but I just wanted to. I don't
That's
know.
okay. Thank you. I have it up. We're okay on my main page, the Aisha Muhammad page. I'll check the others, and if that
Okay.
person can just let you know which platform they're on. Are they on YouTube? So I can
Facebook.
investigate into that. Facebook. Okay. If they go to the Aisha Muhammad podcast, that
Okay.
is a public page, so you should be able to see it on there, no problem. Maybe on my personal one, if you're not a friend or whatever, I don't know the issue, but I can see us. Continue,
Okay.
brother.
Great. So hold on, let me just end this. Yeah, so people have to understand that just because they have that disease doesn't mean that it will be spread to the next person. See, the thing that people overlook is, let's say you have asthma, you have high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol, you have chronic heart disease, or you have cancer. Those are diseases and medical issues that you're more open and prone to talk about. Sickle cell anemia, and there are many different diseases that are out here, whether chronic or acute, that families or people or individuals have, and they're open to sharing it. But when it comes to HIV and AIDS, it's like nobody wants to talk about that, you know. And there are plenty of individuals that are getting into relationships, and then they're not able to even they're not even able, they don't have the willpower or the faith to even tell the partner because of that, and then it causes more drama and chaos down the road. So a little bit about the misunderstanding and the misconceptions of both of them is HIV is not AIDS. So AIDS is caused by the HIV virus. The HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus. Okay. And AIDS stands for acquired immune deficiency. Okay. So acquired means you acquired it at some point in time. You weren't born with it. You know, you're not born with AIDS, you're born with HIV, and then the virus can regress to AIDS. AIDS virus is when one has a, medically or scientifically, is basically when one has a CD4 of 200 or below. The CD4 is your T cell count. Right. So basically your T cell count is the strength of your immune system. T cells come from your thymus gland, which basically are the immune system's defense mechanism. They help defend your body against cold, flu, viruses, infections, right? Yeah. So the lower your T cell count, the more prone it is for you to become sick. Okay. So when your T cell count is below 200, then they say scientifically you have AIDS. However, it's also because when you have AIDS, you're more prone to getting other medical issues, medical conditions like pneumonia, tuberculosis, some type of meningitis. So there are a whole list of other chronic illnesses you can get from just having AIDS. HIV.
I think they call them opportunistic infections. I've read
opportunistic. Yes, that's what they're called. Yep. So you can get those infections when you have AIDS. HIV. Peace. I think someone just tuned in. HIV basically is
the comments are coming up now.
Human immunodeficiency virus. So when you have the human immunodeficiency virus, now you still are more prone to getting sick, and it takes your body more time to fight off viruses or other illnesses. But your CD4 can still be higher. It can be 300, it can be 400 or 500. But typically the average person has a T cell count. It can be from anywhere from like 600 to like 12 or 1500 or so, depending on how strong your immune system is. So when one has the HIV virus, it is more likely that they can get sick, or they may stay sick longer. But it doesn't mean that for every case. And it also doesn't mean that if you have HIV, your wife or your children can have it. If you're undetectable, basically undetectable means the virus is asleep, then you won't spread it. So HIV and AIDS are two different, they both come from the same virus, pretty much. HIV causes AIDS, but one can have HIV and not have AIDS. So a lot of times growing up, we would play around children. Oh, don't touch her, she got AIDS. Don't touch him, he got AIDS. You know what I mean? Like, playing. And in my mind, sometimes I will feel a little self-conscious about it because I'm like, man, I don't have AIDS, but I have something very similar to that. And so sometimes individuals, we say things based off misunderstanding, whether we're joking or whether we're serious. But the fact of the matter is that we truly don't understand it. You know what I mean? There are a lot of people to this day that think that if you got HIV, your partner should have it or is going to catch it or your children are going to catch it, when that's not the case at all. Matter of fact, there are even cases to where the person may not even be that healthy and it may not spread. But typically, if the person is healthy and they have a undetectable viral load, it's like almost impossible for that person to get the virus. So that's just something that I want to put out there. And also, like I said, I want individuals to raise their confidence up. Like if you have HIV, you have AIDS, don't be ashamed about it. You know what I mean? You cannot go back and change the past. Of course, you're not one to walk around and be excited about having HIV and AIDS. But it's not, it's not necessarily a death sentence. You know what I mean? It can become a death sentence because it is a serious and a chronic disease. And if people don't take care of themselves, if we're putting drugs in our system all the time, we're drinking extensively, we're going out and we're just putting all these toxins in our body, we're eating all this bad food, then it can become a serious chronic terminal illness, because a chronic illness can now turn into a terminal illness to where you only have a couple years to live because you're not taking care of yourself. So just don't let this virus, if you have a friend or family member, or if you have it yourself, don't let it destroy you.
Wonderful.
So, yes.
Thank you for sharing that with us and for clearing that up, because there are many misconceptions about it, and it's important for people, to understand, and for those who are suffering with the HIV virus to be strengthened and to, know that they're not alone. So thank you for sharing that. We're now just going to go for a quick break. Whilst we're having that break, please continue to share out this broadcast so that more people can see it, and it can help, it can help others that are going to be touched by hearing Brother Marcus's story. All those of you that are commenting on my personal page, you can move over to the Aisha Muhammad podcast. I think if you are on the podcast from that page, that's when we're going to see more of the comments come up. So if you want to interact with the comments, you can always hop over to the other streaming simultaneously from the Aisha Muhammad podcast on Facebook or YouTube. We will see you shortly after the break.
It's great you're enjoying the show. Are you a COVID conqueror? Are you thriving personally or by serving your community during this pandemic? If this is you and you want to inspire others by sharing your story on the COVID Conquerors series, apply now. Send an email to aishapodcast@yahoo.com. Oh, and remember to share this podcast with those you know it will help. Now, back to the interview.
Welcome back to COVID Conquerors, the series where we discuss things such as triumph over adversity, where I interview phenomenal men and women who are thriving either personally or by way of helping their community during this pandemic. And I have with me a phenomenal young man, Brother Marcus Muhammad. He is an author and a motivational speaker. He was also born with HIV, and he is on a journey of healing, and he is sharing that journey with us to inspire and to comfort others who are also suffering with the virus. So welcome back, Brother Marcus. It's been an honor to interview you, as you've been so very open. Now, you have spoken about your family, your beautiful wife, and your children. And you said that, you had the conversation with your wife, the fact that you wanted to really put yourself out there and your story of which you are doing. How did you go about that? Like, were there any challenges? How is it for you, or can you give us some insight?
Well, it's a good question. That was, what was that, like almost 3 years ago now, when I first shared my story. I believe it was 2018. So this fall would be 3 years. And I remember what actually led me to do it was that, like I said, for years, I've been wanting to share my story, but something for some reason kept holding me back, and I was like, man, when should I really do it? And I always thought one of the things that held me back was I always thought I would be given this big sign of when I should share my story. And I also thought that I had to be healed, like literally the virus had to be eliminated, because in my mind, I thought that individuals wouldn't have saw value in the story, or maybe it wouldn't be able to really benefit them or inspire them or help them if I still had the virus. Because there's, oh, he was born with it, but he still got it. But the fact of the matter is, once I started, studying it more and having more conversations about people and just really seeing the condition that the world was in, I said, wow, there are really so many individuals that this story can truly inspire, and then when I first shared my story, I seen how many individuals that it helped, people I didn't even know was inboxing me and reaching out to me. And so Allah kept putting it on my heart. And I kept talking to my wife, like, I kept mentioning it to her at first, like we would have little small talks about it. And I kept saying, babe, I think I think I'm ready to, share my story. And she said, well, I thought we always talked about you waiting until you was actually here. And I said, yes, but we don't know how long it's going to be. I could be 10, 20, 30. I could be in my 60s, and there could be individuals today that could, benefit from me just sharing the story, because individuals could catch this disease, or they may have been raised with this disease, or they could have had it for the past 4 or 5 years. And now they're depressed, or, they're not living the joyful life that they could be living because they're holding themselves back, or this disease is suppressing them. And so we eventually, we have, before we talk, we met with the Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan in 2018. And I was blessed, my wife and I were blessed to share this story with him, and one of the things he had said, and that this is when I knew, like I said, when I grew up, I always believed I was going to be healed. We always believed that I was going to be healed. But I didn't know how. I was like, how is it going to happen? Like, why would it? And I would always, in the story, you would see this. I would always question Allah as a child. When I was talking to Allah God, who appeared to us in the person of Master Muhammad, I would say, oh Allah, and I would say, Master Muhammad, like, why me? Like, why did you choose me to have this disease? Not that I was upset. I would be sad sometimes, but I really would just ask him, like, why me? You know what I mean? Like, why don't I know my mother? Why can't I remember her? Why don't I know my biological father? Why was I adopted? Why do I have HIV? Like, how will this benefit me? Like, will I be able to aid my people? Will I be cured? Like, I literally would have a conversation with God at night. But in my heart, I truly believed that one day I would be healed. I just didn't know why, how it'll happen. And so when we met the minister, like, he took all the questions out the equation. Like, no, it's going to happen. I mean, he prayed, and then he said it would happen. And then he, in his prayer, he also had asked that Master Farah Muhammad heal me. And so at that point, I knew for sure, like, it's happening. You know what I mean? And I think that put me on a journey. Like, I believe everything that's happening now is leading to me being healed. I believe that prayer, us meeting him, the significance of that meeting put me on a journey of not only being healed, but me sharing my story, because it was like a couple of weeks after that, I just like had this energy and like the spirit come upon me to where it was like Allah was like, it's time. And it's like I couldn't do nothing about it. I was like struggling with myself, like, I can't hold this back no more. I gotta open up, like, here I am, y'all. All right, we're gonna overcome this virus. And so I talked to my wife about it. So eventually we sat down, had a long talk, and we were concerned because now this is only something that my wife knew, I knew, and my mother knew, and some of my siblings. And I think I told one brother in the mosque. And then we had we sat down and told her parents and stuff, and then I expressed to them, I'm about to share this to the world. And we were just concerned about allowing, individuals into our personal life, what they would think. And but my wife said, if this is really what you want to do, and Allah put it on your heart, go ahead and do it. So we just had to talk, and I told her how I was feeling, how I believe Allah God was guiding me to do it. My wife had dropped something in the chat. She said, it's done. Yeah, the minister, after he was praying, he looked up at my wife and said, it's done. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's already done, brother. Like, don't even be concerned, And so, and then he said, Allah, this is what he said. He said, oh Allah, please heal him of this dreadful disease. He said, please heal him of this disease, and let him be a testimony to the world that for you created this body this is your body and that you can heal this body, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he said testimony, that was like a confirmation that this is my testimony. You know what I mean? Not only my life story of me growing up and striving to overcome it, but also the healing aspect.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away. That is that's out of this world, the honor to meet the man of God and have him pray for you and give you that confirmation. That's God's man in our midst. So yeah, it's done. I think that's just awesome. It's just awesome. It really is. So what is helping you to manage the HIV? Like, for instance, diet. Are there any particular practices that you have that's helping you?
Yes, well, definitely diet, how to eat to live. And the teaching that we've been given is the supreme teaching, and what we have to understand is that, all the books that we've been given by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan are very essential and very powerful in this time that we are in and in all times. And the only two books that the messenger wrote that say from God in person to his student was How to Eat to Live, book 1 and book 2. And so why would he put emphasis on from God in person? You know what I mean? Why would he put emphasis? He didn't say that to the message to the black man. Not that it takes away from the importance or the significance of that book. But he knew, like, even when you go into the Supreme Wisdom, when it starts off the problem book, he starts off talking about the ailments and the condition that we are in because of the food that we are eating. You know what I mean? And so when we understand you are what you eat, if you are what you eat, then what of our thoughts are like, how is our body truly functioning, based off the way that we're eating and based off the way that we're thinking. And so How to Eat to Live is something I strongly incorporate, eating 1 meal a day, because really eating 1 meal a day is so powerful and so essential, but it's really the basics. I mean, because he's like eating 1 meal a day, but it's really better to eat 1 meal every other day. But when we do it, it's not something that we should do for a month, 2 months. It's like you get on it and you stay on it. You may get sick, once a year or so if we're not fasting consistently. And if we do, then we got to, eat here to strengthen ourselves. But we get right back on that 1 meal a day. We eat between those 2 hours, 4 and 6, or you got to eat between 5 and 7 or 3 to 5, whatever your work schedule will allow. But if you was consistent, he said, if you're consistent on eating 1 meal a day or eating 1 meal every other day, I think in book 2, he says this, your body can heal from some chronic diseases. Now, chronic diseases are different from regular issues like diabetes and high blood pressure. A chronic disease would be like COPD or HIV is considered now chronic disease. So there are certain heart conditions that are chronic disease, kidney failures and stuff like that. So there are certain chronic diseases that we truly can heal from if we're eating 1 meal a day, one meal every other day. So yes, I definitely incorporate that. That's one of the main things, but also praying, praying, working out, studying, because, the mind controls the body. And so if our thoughts are really aligned with Allah, and we're truly striving to be one with him, that helps with the healing as well. The Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan said that Allah has placed in each human being his own hospital. And that if we were to align with God and eat the right foods and think the right thoughts, that our healing system inside of ourselves will activate. Like, we know that there's a supreme being here and he has the power to heal us, but part of the healing comes on us. Like, we're not going to be healed if we're not thinking the right thoughts, eating the right foods. And so the minister also said that 50% of the healing is on us and the other 50% is on God. So if it's on us and we know that we are God and God is within us, then we got to take the appropriate steps. So eating the right foods, and then making sure your stress level is down. Like the minister talks about different ways to heal and destroy the spiritual demons that's within us that keep us from losing weight, keep us from our spiritual advancement. And one of those steps is to commune with nature. So communing with nature, eating the right foods, praying, reading the Holy Quran, doing right, because we're created off truth. And so if we're doing wrong, that burden is on our brain, on our mind, and it basically causes a chemical imbalance in our bodies. And so, yes, I do eat 1 meal a day. I strive to fast. I do get there are times that I do get sick when I'm sick, depending on how, if I am sick, then I, won't eat one meal a day. Obviously, we got to take the right steps.
Yeah. Awesome. It's funny. I was in a group today talking about fasting. That was this morning, and 1 meal a day. And here I am again in the PM talking about it again with you. It really is something to look into, how to eat to live, and in eating 1 meal a day. It will change your life. There's so many benefits, so many benefits. And you can pick up a copy from the final call. And depending where else you are on the planet, it may be easier to get a copy from Amazon, but get it from the final call first and foremost if you can. It's a book written by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. There's 2 books. There's book 1 and book 2. I know that there's a big thing about fasting nowadays. This has been put out there from the 70s. It is something that you really need to look into. It works. I practice 1 meal a day. It's taken me a long time, but I am on it now. It's a part of my lifestyle.
It's taking me a while too.
Yeah, come on now. We trying our best out here. And yeah, just get the book, read it, try it bit by bit, gradual, go up in gradients, and you'll be able to do it too, and just reap all of the benefits from eating 1 meal a day. Okay, awesome. So you've spoken about being a very, loving person and wanting to tell your story and inspire others. But I'm still going to ask you the question. You may come to a realization in answering it today. I don't know, but I really need to ask you the question. And it is, where did you get the mindset or the capacity, Brother Marcus, to want to heal and assist others in everything that you've had to go through? What is it that makes you want to give to others whilst being steadfast under trial? You have a love, you have a need. Is it something that is intricately tied to your purpose? Like, tell us, when you look into yourself, you journal everything, where does this come from?
Well, as a child, I always just wanted to be great, be an inspiration and be big, and not allow this disease to hold me back. And oftentimes I thought really big as a child, and I'm sure, a lot of us did. And I wanted to hold true to what I thought. And so I remember being 6, 7, 8 years old. And I would also think about other children, in times that I would watch TV, or I would watch children in other countries, and I would see how other individuals may have been living, or the trials and tribulations that they were enduring and going through. And I thought about, man, I wish I could be able to help them. So I always had the desire to just really help others. And then, just the way my mom raised me, she showed so much love to me. And I think that love was instilled into me to now that I can bring it out to others. And then I just always had an enthusiasm, high energy, to where I meet somebody, I automatically strive to gravitate to that person, And growing up, as I grew older through the teenage years, watching the Honorable Mental Farrakhan, I mean, the type of love that he has displayed for us, all the things that he has endured, what he has gone through spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, even financially. But yet he has never given up on his love. He's never thrown his love away. He's never quit on his posts because of the love that he has for his people, which shows how much he loves himself, which shows how much he loves God based off his works. And so that inspired me, like, how can I love like he loves? Even to this day, I feel like this compared to the amount of love. Like, I just want to be loved, because love is so powerful when you really understand it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us think love is bad or it's weak, but it's like, it gives purpose, it gives drive. And I feel like the greater my love is, love is duty, love is action. So the greater I love, the more works that I'll have. And I just feel like that is what God has me here to do, is to be a healer. I thought it was to go to school to be a medical physician or medical scientist. But now I feel that it's to strive to be, a vessel for Allah, to teach individuals not only the value of loving one another, but truly the value of self-love and connecting ourselves to the one divine life, which is the creator, Allah himself. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times when we go through struggle, and this, these are things that I've learned and that I still am learning, when we face adversity and when we face struggle, you know, it makes us question God in the sense sometimes where we may get angry at God because we misunderstand him, thinking that we were dealt a bad hand. Like, why have I always been tried? Or some of us say, it seems like I've been struggling my whole life, or it seems like I'm always broke. It seems like this and that. Well, maybe we should think about it like this. What if we're going through and we're going through what we're going through so God can use us to lead and heal and help individuals by the hundreds, by the thousands, by the millions. And if we thought life like that, then it'll encourage us to fight more. And we're so valuable that Allah has to put so much pressure on us so that we can grow to be stronger. The minister teaches on facing adversity and how God put himself into us. And so we are struggling to become one with that divine life. But in order to become one with that divine life, the eternal source of Allah himself, we have to face that adversity. And so as a child growing up through that adversity, I didn't understand why I was going through it, but I always knew that I can't go back and change what happened. I can't go back and take HIV away right now. And the only thing I can do is strive to live the best lifestyle I can, help people, be successful, and just be great for my children, great for my wife, and just be a tool for Allah and to please Allah, you know. And the brother, I see you, Brother Michael. He's also the love from the Black woman is a powerful healer. I thank Allah for you finding a wife who is your natural healer. There's no stronger prescription than a loving Black woman. Yes, sir. The minister said when we were sitting down with him, he said, "Brother, you know she's a major key in this, right?" A real smooth. And so, yes, I mean, the woman's a natural doctor. She's a natural healer, you know, and, you know, when she's even just the way she cooks, you know, she's putting love in the food and she's cooking the right food. And I would definitely say my wife definitely loves me, you know, so I appreciate all the love that I get, you know, because, you know, having a right woman in your corner, you know, and you all are fighting for each other, like that love can, you know, you guys can overcome anything. And that's what we're striving to do.
Your story is amazing, Brother Marcus. It really is amazing. And I'm so happy that, you know, you're here to share with us all. I'm sure there's going to be much reflection, you know, after this podcast. Just with what you shared, you've given us a lot to ponder over and consider. And you're definitely one who lives in the spirit of gratitude, which is something I most definitely try to do, because, you know, we sometimes may feel down and hard done by. There's also always somebody who has it, you know, 10 times worse. And should we just count our blessings, we will be found, you know, grateful and realizing that.
Posted that on Twitter. Yep, it's similar too. And I was just thinking too.
In your book as well. You mentioned it in your book as well. Yes.
Yeah, you saw it. Yeah. So, and I thought about that because it's like today, I'm actually under the weather today, you know, and I was sick yesterday and, you know, had to go to the doctors and stuff. And, you know, haven't been sick in a while actually. And I was like, man, I just dropped the book, just came back from Savior's Day, but we just had the experience of Savior's Day, which was downstairs in my living room. And I'm like, why is this happening now? But like the brother said, how can men escape on saying that we believe without being tried when we have tried before? Allah's going to try us. You know, he wants to test us. He wants to question us. And I think that like when we're studying the study guide, Rising Above Emotion, the minister said it's okay to question God out of sincerity for clarity. He wants you to question him so you can understand, so you can overcome. He wants you to call on him. How can we, you know, be great? You know, how can we really literally enjoy life if everything was just easy peasy? I mean, think about the feeling of accomplishing something. I ask myself all the time, holding that paper, like it's gone. Woo! I'm free. Like that feeling, I'm probably never going to have that in my life again. It's going to be a one in a lifetime feeling. When you walk into that beautiful new home or that land you just brought, that's when you walk in the first time. There's nothing like that first time. Of course, when you walk home, like when I walk home, I smile and I'm home. Praise be to Allah, you know. But when you walk in at that first time, that achievement, that accomplishment, but what did it take for you to get there? You know, so a lot of times we're stuck in a struggle, but there's beauty in the struggle. And like J. Cole said on Love Yours, ain't no such thing of a life that's better than yours, no such thing of a life that's better than yours. I know I can't say, don't laugh at me, but in the song, he's basically rapping about his life prior to being rich and famous, and how he said sometimes he said, I think being broke was better, right? And he's not saying not having money, but he's talking about before he had the money and the fame, he had those in his corner that he loved. He had his, his family there. He ain't had the stress about people all in his business all the time. Now all of a sudden he got the money and he don't know who his real friends are. He has more problems, this and that. And he says, there's no such thing of a life that's better than yours. Take beauty in the struggle. What we are going through, what you are going through, we have to understand that is your trial. God does not put on a burden on a soul that it cannot handle. And so when we're going through these trials and tribulations, that trial is specifically handmade, tailored for you. And we got to understand that. So this is my trial, me being born with it, but it doesn't take away from the greatness of your trial and that you can overcome it. You can definitely overcome it. And sometimes we look at the greatness. The minister saying when people are great and successful, it seems as if they walk in and just suck up all the air, and you look at them like, wow, here's this person. He said, It's great to admire someone else's greatness, but don't admire them more than you admire the greatness in yourself. Because sometimes we admire others and we see the greatness in them, but we don't see the greatness in ourselves. You got to see the greatness in yourself. And then the more greatness you see in yourself, if it's true love, not vanity, but true love of yourself, then you're going to automatically love others as well. So we got to overcome the struggle. The struggle that you're going through is made for you. You can definitely overcome it.
It's to embrace it and to go through it. There's so much to learn in doing that.
I don't want to talk too much, but think about a baby, right? If
yes,
you giving birth, you have a child, and I was there for it, and I've never had a birth, so I'm not explaining it. I don't want anybody like he thinks he know what it's like to give a child. I don't know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel your hand getting squeezed really hard, but I don't know what it's like to have a child. But just from my outside observation, looking at my wife and just hearing about the stories of mothers giving birth, think about the baby. The baby was just like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going back in there. I can't. It's no way. It's either life or death at that point.
That's right.
The mother's saying, well, you know what? I'm about to give up. I can't. I'm not this baby. He about to get sucked back in. You can't. There's only one way, and the one way is to go out. And if we thought about that every time we were going through struggle, I ain't going back. I'm going to win. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to flourish. I'm going to prosper. I'm going to overcome because I'm a God, and God is with me if I'm with him. There's no power and strength within the law. If we thought like that, there's nothing that we can't overcome. It may take time. It could take a month. It could take a year. It could take 10 years. But if we keep pushing through it, then we'll eventually break the threshold.
Living testimony. Yes, and yes. Truth. Nothing but raw truth. Excellent. So you are an international, and I put that there for a reason. Motivational speaker. Okay, because look, this here is global. We on the internet, all right? So you're an international motivational speaker. So how can we get to hear you? Like, who should people contact? Where are you showing up with your speaking? If somebody wants to book you, who do they contact? How does this work?
Contact my wife. Her number is 2. No, I'm just playing. I would say right now, and I'm just, I'm definitely humbled and honored, like I said, to be here and to be in y'all's presence to share my story. And, definitely want to be straightforward. I'm building my company as we speak, the things that I'm doing. I just dropped my book last week. I'm building my company, The Hive, as we speak, which stands for Heal, Inspire, Value, Elevate. The Hive stands for, it comes from HIV is a foundation, but I was thinking in terms of healing as well, and bees and honey have many healing properties. And so, the company is being structured. And so right now, Marcus Muhammad 7 on Instagram. So if you have an IG account, you can go at Marcus Muhammad, MUHAMMAD, like it says on the screen, with the number 7 right behind it. Oh, yep. And there's my Facebook. So that's where I use most of my, those are the 2 vehicles I use right now to create content and to share inspirational videos, inspirational posts, not just inspirational, but also education, because, we can get motivated for 5-10 minutes, but the motivation may go away. But if we have the knowledge is power when the knowledge is really understood and when it's really used and applied. And so a lot of times I strive to mix motivation along with knowledge that we can take home, we can read. And that's basically what my book, Transforming Pain to Purpose, Thriving with HIV. So if you go on Amazon, Transforming Pain to Purpose, Thriving with HIV, it's basically, the book is mostly in interview format like this is right now. But after each question and answer, I'm might be quoting scripture, Quran, or the Bible. Or I'm quoting the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan, or I may be giving more depth about the answer, or more in depth about something that happened as a child, or experience that I was going through as a child, dealing with HIV, or dealing with something else in my personal life. And I talk about how I overcame, or how I was feeling at the time, which is something that we can apply to our own life when we're going through things. So on my page, I'll be having links probably in the next few days or a week or so. And I have another website where you can get my book from that'll be less expensive than Amazon, because Amazon is a vehicle I'm using. But like I said, I'm also want to build my own. There's a link in the comment section, but I also want to build my own website, so that way it's easier for you all to access, and it can be cheaper to where you all can get it at a more comfortable rate for you all. And yeah, so those are the two vehicles I'm doing. And soon, I don't know when yet, but very soon I should have a YouTube account. But right now, IG and Facebook are the two vehicles that I'm using to share content. If you need to reach out personally, I think you can message me. You definitely can DM me on Marcus Muhammad or Facebook, IG or Facebook, or you can. I believe I have my email attached to my my IG as well, so you can email me from there. Okay.
Awesome. I wish you all the best, Brother Marcus, with the launch of your new book, Transforming Pain to Purpose, and with your motivational speaking and your other business endeavors. We have a comment here from Brother Michael. My brother, you are illustrating more life than most of us who are not ill affected with hardship. I thank Allah God for you, your strength and positivity. Wow, that is absolutely awesome. I'm just going to have a look at the other page that we're streaming from. Got to overcome our doubts and focus on our purpose. That's from Brother Edward. Sister Viola says, thank you, Bro Marcus, for sharing your journey. And so grateful. This is what Aisha Muhammad says. My namesake, so grateful for Marcus sharing his story. We've got lots of hearts going on. You are most definitely loved and appreciated, Brother Marcus. Keep up doing everything that you are doing. I pray Allah blesses you abundantly, continues to do so, both you and your family. Keep sharing your story, keep giving, keep praying, keep fasting, and you will forever be in my prayers, you and your family. I think you're such beautiful people, and I am just so happy to have met you and to be witnessing your growth. First of all, it was as a courting couple, a married couple, parents. It's awesome.
I know, right? Yeah, that is something amazing. I would have never thought 7 years ago. And I thought about that before the call, but when you said it was 7 years ago, they were recording, I was like, wow, it was that long ago. And we literally were just having a beautiful, beautiful conversation. And we would have never thought that, 7 years, I'm being on your podcast. All right. We just all connected as believers under, the guidance under the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan. And because of the love that we all have for one another, we just connected. And now here we are today doing big works, big fields awake the wide awake man. And we're, sharing your social media, sharing your podcast, and striving to touch people in different areas. So I'm definitely appreciative of you allowing me to be on your platform again. All praise is due to Allah. I'm thankful for him using me, seeing me fit to, be used as a tool to just reach and help and inspire our people. And that's what I'm striving to do. So thank you.
Oh, you are more than welcome. Yes, sir. And Sister Shakira, I love you too. And yes, stay tuned to the Aisha Muhammad podcast for it's going to be series 3 that we are going to be going into now, into our 3rd series in a fortnight's time. I see you again, by the grace of God, back here on the Aisha Muhammad podcast with another phenomenal person who is thriving either personally or in service to their community. So thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. Please continue the conversation. Please continue to share this broadcast far and wide so that it can help others. I thank you once again. You have a great night, and take care.
I must have set up at least 15 plus food banks.
We need good examples of marriage.
Oh, wow. I am resilient, I am strong, and I am capable.
Sit down and wait for this thing to pass over. We're going to